Well, it's me again, Mary Sullivan, up here reminding you to bid on auction items. Last week, I told you time was running out to get your bids in. Well, now, time is really running out. The auction website will close this coming Wednesday, May 4th at noon. There are still many wonderful items available, including dinners, concerts, Colorado getaways, homemade treats, and much more. There are many items that would be just perfect Mother's Day gifts. On Saturday, May 7th, we'll have lunch and socializing here in the church from 11:30 to 2. You can also pick up your auction items at this time. Stop at the auction table on your way out today to get more info. Also, if you will be joining us for lunch on May 7th, please email Helen Berkman at, and I'll say this slowly, h.berkman1@gmail.com. That's h.berkman1@gmail.com. That will help her order the correct amount of food. Also please note that the correct auction website link can be found in this week's first announce and at the auction table in the community room. It is, again, www.togetherauction.com/FUSDEN. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you at some of the events.
Good morning, First Unitarian.
Good morning.
I am Nathaniel Clark, and it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to worship this morning. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whoever you are with, and wherever you are on your journey in life, we are so glad that you are here. Our call to worship today comes from Mary Oliver. Do stones feel? Do they love their life? Or does their patience drown out everything else? When I walk on the beach, I gather a few, white ones, dark ones, multiple colors. Don't worry, I say, I'll bring you back, and I do. Is the tree as it rises, delighted with its many branches, each one like a poem? Are the clouds glad to unburden their bundles of rain? Most of the world says, no, that's not possible. I refuse to think such a conclusion. Too terrible it would be to be wrong. Once again, welcome.
As Nathaniel said, whoever you are and wherever you are welcome here. I invite you to turn to a neighbor, whether they be to your left or right, or behind you or in front of you, and welcome them with this song. We are many, we are one, the light of the world is within you. Sacred and worthy is your soul, a place has been made for you. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. As Mary mentioned, we are in the middle of our auction. There's a few days left to bid, and one of the things you can bid on is song requests from some of our awesome musicians here. So this morning, for our prelude music, we are featuring a song request from Beth Neva, and she requested in last year's auction, For Good, from the musical Wicked. So Charlotte and Lacey are going to sing that.
I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
It well may be that we will never meet again in this lifetime, but let me say before we part, so much of me is made of what I learned from you. You'll be with me like a handprint on my heart. And now whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend. Like a ship blown from its mooring by a wind of the sea, like a seed dropped by a skybird in a distant wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you,
because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
And just to clear the air, I ask forgiveness for the things I've done you blame me for.
But then I guess we know there's blame to share, and none of it seems to matter anymore. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets a boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? I do believe I have been changed for the better, because I knew you,
because I knew you,
because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
Good morning, First Unitarian. That was weak. Good morning, First Unitarian. Awesome. Hello, my name is Matt Davis, and I am the Worship Arts Coordinator for the Religious Exploration Program here at FUSD. It sounds fancy, doesn't it? If you are young at heart, or you just want to play a wicked awesome game with a little extra space today, you can come right up here in front. everybody in the sanctuary is going to play, so if you just think you might need a little space, like you can just step out into an aisle too. All right, so today I know that we're talking about, and this is a huge word, anthropomorphization. And I read it on there, Mike, and I was like, ooh, I learned about that in theater school. And so I was like, yeah, cool, we're going to play a game. It's one of my favorite games. Youth, you've probably played this with me because I love it. It is a game called Magic Rock. What? Awesome. All right, in this game, you all are going to be magic rocks. Now, when I say magic rock, you can turn into a rock. You can, if you're in your seat, you can turn into a rock like this. If you're standing, you can turn into a rock like this. If you're really into it, you can even turn into a rock like this. That's up to you. Now, the cool thing about magic rocks is they are magic, and they can turn into anything. Yeah, mind blown, right? Okay, so let's give it a couple test rounds with something easy first. Ready? Magic rock. Beautiful. You're all a bunch of magic rocks. I love it. Magic rock, turn into a giraffe. I love giraffes because every time I go to the zoo, it looks like they don't care I'm there. Magic rock. Let's see, that's a little harder one. Magic rock, turn into an elephant. Oh yeah, you can make elephant noises, I'm down. Ooh, good, magic rock. Magic rock, turn into your favorite bird. I hear some crows, I see some hummingbirds, I think. Magic rock. All right, we're gonna start amping it up a little bit, see if we can change into something even weirder. Magic rock, turn into a hippopotamus. Those are the most dangerous animal in Africa, isn't that weird? Magic rock. All right, magic rock, you're gonna have to think about this one. Magic rock, turn into an alien that's never been seen on Earth before. I like the alien noises too, I'm into it. All right, magic rock. Here it's gonna get even trickier. Magic rock, I want you to turn into a human who's helping another human. Ooh, interesting. Magic rock. Magic rock, turn into a human who feels so sad. Magic rock. Magic rock, turn into a human who is so happy to see another human. Magic rock. There's a lot of happiness there. Last one. Magic rock. Turn into a human who's doing something to change the world. Magic rock. One more. Magic rock, turn into a person here in this sanctuary right now. Cool. So I was thinking about how magic rocks can turn into anything, and we can kind of make in our mind anything out of anything. But I wondered if the rocks were looking at us, what would they make us into? Would they make us into a human who's helping another human? Well, I would count Dr. King as a person who helped other people, right? Would those magic rocks turn us into someone who was changing the world? I hope so. All right, you guys, thank you for playing my Magic Rock game today. Please help us sing out our youth so we can go upstairs.
Good morning, First Unitarian. We have this morning a time for some celebration, time for community, a time for us to open our hearts, open our arms, and honor the sacred bonds of commitment. This morning we are going to welcome some people into our membership, some people who have found in this particular congregation a place they will make their spiritual home. I'm going to call out some names of some folks who I believe are here. Alicia Bashaw, Gabriella Flora, Ray Burdett and Mary Jo Geyer, Nathaniel Clark. And if you heard your name, would you come on up here and join me? Yeah. And I would say if there are others here who would like to sign our membership book today whom I don't know about, come on up and make yourselves known as well. Please. Fabulous. Membership at First Unitarian Denver brings some expectations. We ask for a commitment to the community and a practice of the deep respect that is our religious ideal. We ask you to take your own spiritual growth and reflection seriously in the context of this community. That is one of the ties that binds us all together. Lending your efforts and time to the larger ministry of the congregation, helping to further the spirit of trust and goodwill that is our religious ideal, allows all of us to be the best we can be as people and as a congregation. Helping as you're able with the financial needs of the larger ministry allows everything we do to be anchored in reality. Do you freely accept these implications of membership? Fabulous. Then I am going to ask you, as soon as I get everything arranged here. I'm going to ask you to come up and sign our membership book. And if you choose to, it's not mandatory, but if you choose to, just a couple of words or very briefly why you're choosing to do that. Would you start? Oh, tell us who you are, too.
My name is Indigo McAllister. I just moved here from Nashville literally 3 weeks ago. I was a member of UU Church there for a little bit.
Nope, stay up here. This, please.
Hi, my name is Teresa Tomich. I'm attracted to this church because of the Racial Justice Project and enjoy working with them for the last couple years, but I haven't had a chance to sign the book. And I will reveal myself and take the mask off. And what a way to celebrate May Day and spring.
I'm back. My name is Nathaniel Clark. I am a lifelong Unitarian Universalist. I'm getting dual citizenship. I checked with both ministers. I can be a member at my old church and this one, so we're okay. I am at ILIF actually studying to become a UU minister someday. So here I am. I plan to stay, and I like you all. Thank you for having me.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alicia Bashaw, and I've been coming here since about 2015. Figured it's about time.
I'm Mary Jo Geyer, and I have been a Unitarian for about 25 years, and I was a member of congregations in Pittsburgh and in Stuart, Florida, and this is my favorite Unitarian church and home.
I'm Gabriela Flora, and when I moved to Denver in 2004, I lived half a block from First Unitarian, and I've been coming off and on, sometimes more on than off, and more recently on for the past 18 years. So I figure it's about time. I've been involved in core circles and currently in Giving in Action, and my daughter has been very active in RE and in Imagine Camp and in OWL. So I think it's about time. I'm very happy to be signing the book.
My name is Ray Burdett, and I've been a Unitarian for about 50 years, I guess, and moved here recently with my wife, Mary Jo, and very happy with this church, the minister, the people I've met, so I'm very happy to be signing the book.
Fantastic. First Unitarian. You have a job to do. Welcome and encourage and befriend and get to know these fine folks. Invite them fully into this community in the way that only you can do. Invite them into your lives. Invite them into your hearts. We are a new congregation today with the welcome addition of these faces, these stories, these lives, these families. Will you accept these persons into our membership, fully aware that just as life is constantly changing, the nature of our community is also constantly evolving? Oh, come on. Oh, a little better. We're going to extend the right hand of fellowship and a flower. Noel is going to help me out. As a symbol, the flower is a symbol of the bond which already exists between us and the hope of that bond growing stronger every day. And then don't go quite away just yet. start on this. Well,
thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Stick this right here.
Yeah. Could we get the responsive reading up there? Cool. So I'm going to ask us to do this responsive reading. Just, notice which parts are yours. We bid you welcome, who come with weary spirit seeking rest, who come with hope in your heart. We bid you welcome, who are seekers of a new faith, who come to probe, to explore, and to learn. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your journey, we bid you welcome. Yeah.
Would you please rise in body and or spirit and join me in singing Morning Has Broken. Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
Sorry, without the printed program, I was a little bit lost. But as I said, I'm Gabriella Flora, and I'm with the Giving in Action Committee. As you all know, today is May Day, which is International Workers' Day. It is a day where across the world we celebrate laborers, the working class, and union organizing to make life better for all of us and celebrate the rights of all workers. Today in the Giving in Action Committee, we wanted to invite Breakthrough to as who we're going to be giving to. They do many things, but among them, they work with folks who are formerly incarcerated in reentry programs. And given that it is International Workers' Day, and we know that our mass incarceration system can have devastating economic impacts on families and make it really hard for people to return to our workplace because of biases against people and the lack of access they've had because of our mass incarceration system. We wanted to invite them today on May Day. So I'm going to ask Stacy, the executive director, and Izzy, the program director, to share a little bit with you about Breakthrough and have you all give to it. And then I just want to announce that you can, if you have a Breeze account, you can give through their Breeze account, and I think it will be on the screen here too. And if you go, also you can go to fusden.org and give there, and then there will be a red basket in the back where you can also donate. So please be generous, and let's hear from Stacy and Izzy about Breakthrough.
Thank you. Good morning. It's so great to be here with all of you. Like Gabriella said, my name is Stacy. I'm the executive director of Breakthrough.
Good morning. My name is Izzy, and I am the program director of Breakthrough.
And we also love interactive activities, so this has been great so far today. So we'd like to invite you to participate in another interactive activity. And if you've ever made a mistake in your life, one that you deeply regret, raise your hand.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good news, we're all humans, no aliens in the audience today. So all of us make mistakes. It's just part of the human condition. It's part of being on this planet. And we work with people who have made some really big mistakes and who have been labeled and judged by our society as a whole for those mistakes. And they become kind of the worst of the worst. And we believe that they deserve an opportunity and they deserve a fair first chance to be able to join our communities and be part of our society. We actually wanted to tell you more a little bit about why we do this work today quickly, and then you can read our website. I have flyers that I'll put in the back that you can read to learn more about our program. But I choose to do this work because my father struggled with addiction for most of his life, and he got sober right before I was born. He maintained sobriety through the rest of his life and had a very diligent practice to maintain sobriety and be a really, really good dad. The best dad, in my opinion. He was a small business owner and was a mentor to all of the men and women that worked for him in his company. And I believe that all the people that I serve and that we serve together have the chance to be just like my dad.
I love that you guys are talking about community today because the reason that I do our work is exactly that, community. I have a bachelor's in psychology, and when I was receiving that degree, I had an internship at basically a teens halfway house, and even though I felt like I had a humble raising, I found out that there's even more diverse backgrounds when it came to childhood experiences and developments. So we don't all start at the same starting line sometimes because of those differences. And I realized my community, the people around me, my mom moved us from Mexico to the United States, and my dad's family came around us and supported us. I had teachers, and I was raised in a church, so I had pastors and youth pastors and community members that decided to pour into my life, and that made a big difference. And so today I do the work that we do because I want to be part of that community. We not only work with the currently and formerly incarcerated, but we also take community members inside behind the walls, the prison walls, so then that gives me a part of feeling like I'm helping bridge that community and create that space for them that they may have not had before, and they certainly don't have right now while they're incarcerated, so we're able to give them that community.
And so far, the results of that are working really well. Just to give you a couple outcome points, we work inside 3 Colorado prisons. We've served about 180 people. Around 60 of those have come home. The recidivism rate, or the rate at which people return to prison after release, in the state of Colorado is about 50%. So of the people who are coming home, 1 out of every 2 is going back to prison. And our recidivism rate is 6%. So 94% of our people have stayed free.
Thank you. Thank you.
2, 3.
I'm trying to work things out. I'm trying to comprehend. Am I the chance result of some great accident? I hear a rhythm call me, the echo of a grand design. I spend each night in the backyard, staring up at the stars in the sky. I have another meeting today with my new counselor. My mom will cry and say, I don't know what to do with her. She's so unresponsive, I just cannot break through. She spends all night in the backyard, staring up at the stars and the moon. Charted graph of my despondency. They want to chart a path for self-recovery and want to know what I am thinking, what motivates my mood to spend all night in the backyard, staring up at the stars and the moon. Maybe this was made for me, for lying on my back in the middle of a field. And maybe that's a selfish thought, or maybe there's a loving God. And maybe I was made this way, to think and to reason and to question and to pray. And I have never prayed a lot, but maybe there's a loving God. Maybe this was made for me, for lying on my back in the middle of a field. And maybe that's a selfish thought, or maybe there's a loving God. And maybe I was made this way, to think and to reason and to question and to pray. And I have never prayed a lot, and maybe there's a loving God. And maybe that's a foolish thought, or maybe there is a God. And I have never prayed a lot, but maybe there's a loving God.
First Unitarian. A few happenings in our larger community. I want to just briefly hold up Rin Overturf, who's sitting over here in the back. And if you were here last week, you heard Rin give an outstanding sermon about crime and justice. I want to mention the Kenworthy family this morning. All 4 of them are down with fevers over 100 for the last couple of days. That's why Aaron is not here today. I want to give a shout out this morning, a shout out of solidarity and support and sanity, really to all of us, for all of the gaslighting that we are getting these days. To go with a metaphor, there's a lot of arsonists out there who are pretending to be firefighters. Some of them are corporations. Some of them are serving on school boards in Douglas County. Some of them are presidents of Russia. Some of them are former presidents of the United States. There are arsonists pretending to be firefighters in Congress, on the nightly news, and all over social media. We need each other. We need our wits about us. And we need each other both for a reality check and because gaslighting is really an extraordinarily effective method for getting us to question our own judgment, question our own sanity, and question our own power. Amen? I also want to give a shout out of solidarity, support, and sanity to all the people for whom this economy just does not work. People who are being priced out of homes and decent places to live. People who have lost jobs and income. People who are living on fixed incomes. People who are working 2 and 3 jobs just to feed themselves and their children. And as always, may the refugees of this world be cared for. 70-ish million people displaced by war or by drought or by flooding, but by forces beyond their control. May the world have mercy. Our prayer today is this. Imagine you are standing on the rocky shore by the ocean. The reach beyond you is ultimately linked with every stretch of ocean all over the planet. It is a unity, a vast and watery oneness. But in front of you, what you see is waves. Hundreds of thousands of waves, some of them enormous, some of them smaller, others tiny waves on the backs of other waves. Each wave is a distinct entity with its own characteristics. They are a multiplicity. The multiplicity and the unity are one and the same thing. A thing that is both many and one at the same time. The ocean is the underlying basis for every wave, and neither the ocean nor the waves can be understood in isolation from each other. We need a sense of unity, of life and of humans, for the sake of human welfare and the survival of the planet. We need a sense of unity with the cosmos so that we can connect with reality. And we also need a sense of individuality for the sake of dignity and independence and the loving care of others. We must recognize that the one and the many are the same thing, viewed from different angles. The one is manifested only in and through the many, has no separate existence from the many. Equally, the many are the one, even separated, always part of the one. Amen. So I'm aware that we had a lot to do in today's service, and we're going to run a little long. And I'm aware we've all been sitting a long time, but so before I begin the sermon, which I'm not going to cut short, I just want to invite you to stand and stretch if that's what your body is longing for at this moment. It's not going to be a terribly long sermon, but I'm not going to shorten it just because of the time, if that makes sense. All right. A short poem by Richard Shelton to get us started. Command the desert stones in a loud voice, or speak to them just to the left of silence, or sing them a love song in Spanish. They will not respond. Write a letter. In it confess all your sins. Place it under a stone, leave it there for months, and when you return, you will find your letter unopened and unread. Stones have a sense of dignity greater than that of kings, a sense of honor stronger than that of friends. Stones are fulfilled like prophecy, predictable as change, and have a sense of humor more subtle than we can comprehend. It takes a long time to amuse a stone. First, you must capture one, carry it away, imprison it with mortar in a wall. The stone will not complain. Then you must wait, and years after you are gone, underneath another stone onto which some stranger will carve your name, the mortar in your wall will crumble, and the stone you captured will fall to the ground, amused and free and going home. Teaching a Stone to Talk is the title of a, frankly, very non-whimsical book by Annie Dillard. It's a collection of essays about nature and the absurdity of theology. And in the essay for which the book is named, she writes of the person who has taken on this task of teaching a stone to talk. I quote, "Reports differ on exactly what he expects or wants the stone to say. I do not think he expects the stone to speak as we do and describe for us its long life and many or few sensations. I think instead he's trying to teach it to say a single word, such as cup or uncle. For this purpose he has not, as some have suggested, carved the stone a little mouth or furnished it in any way with a pocket of air which it might expel. No one knows what goes on at these teaching sessions, least of all myself, but I assume, like any other meaningful effort, the ritual involves sacrifice, the suppression of self-consciousness, and a certain precise tilt of the will, so that the will becomes transparent and hollow, a channel for the work." One of the things I admire about Annie Dillard is the precision of her language. A certain precise tilt of the will, so that the will becomes transparent and hollow, a channel for the work. A channel, especially, for instance, if it's on the ocean, a channel flows both ways. The tide goes in, goes out, the tide comes in, there's a stillness at the transition period and a mingling of the waters, and I think this is a marvelous description of relationships. A certain tilt of the will so that walls and defenses come down, so that information can flow back and forth, so that mutuality can take place, so that love can come into the world between the self and something outside of the self. But this idea of talking to a stone, got me wondering, what if instead of teaching a stone to talk a human language, what if the stone were trying to teach us the language of a stone? Now, I'm not trying to say stones are conscious, or that they communicate with each other, or that they're aware of their surroundings, although who knows, really. But just as an intellectual exercise, imagine that they were. Just imagine. Imagine all the rocks in the world as a kind of a community, operating on a scale of time that boggles the imagination. Humans, of course, anthropomorphize everything. We see animals, nature, wind, mountains, the moon, and so on, and we tend to apply human qualities to things that are not human at all. We can't help but to see the world and everything in it in relation to ourselves. But as Matt wondered earlier, what do we look like? How are we perceived, for example, by fungi or by trees? Or from the perspective of rocks? In her article, Hearing the Language of Trees, Robin Wall Kimmerer does some wondering about this. And by the way, the quote I'm about to share is one that I got sent to me by Nathaniel Clark, who did our call to worship earlier and who signed our membership book just a little while ago. Kimmerer wrote, "Traditional cultures who sit beneath pine trees recognize that human people are only one manifestation of intelligence in this world. Other beings, from otters to ash trees, are understood as persons possessed of their own gifts, responsibilities, and intentions. This is not some kind of mistaken anthropomorphism. Trees are not misconstrued as leaf-wearing humans, but respected as unique, sovereign beings equal to or even exceeding the power of humans." The indigenous story tradition speaks of a past in which all beings spoke the same language and life lessons flowed among species, but we have forgotten or been made to forget how to listen. The soft sibilance of pine needles in the wind is an acoustic signature of pine trees. But this well-known whispering of the pines is just a sound. It's not their voice. What if you were a great teacher, a holder of knowledge and vessel of stories, but had no audible voice with which to speak? What if your listeners presumed you were mute, save for the passive whispering of your needles in the wind? How would you bring your truth into the world? Wouldn't you dance your story in branch and in root? Wouldn't you write it in the eloquence of cellulose, in the lasting archive of wood? Plants tell their stories not by what they say, but by what they do. They tell their stories in their bodies. In an alphabet once as familiar as the song of every bird, which we have also forgotten as we became afflicted not only with plant blindness, but with plant deafness as well. So if the language of trees is spoken in cellulose, branch, and root, the exchange of sugar for water and minerals, all within an extended family of fungi and mycelium, sunshine, and carbon, what would be the language of stones? I spoke to Jason Kenworthy, one of our resident geologists, about this week. He told me stones would speak a kinetic language. Their nouns, verbs, and adjectives would be of time and pressure and the properties of their composition, mass, magnetism, compaction, gravitation, and temperature. Stones, it turns out, do all the same things that every relationship does, or do. They transform, they erode, they explode, they melt, they crystallize, they become sedentary, and so on. They even carry the scars and the memory of past trauma. Stones do all of those things. Imagine volcanoes, earthquakes, and landslides as expressions of rage. A release of pressure, a seeking of equilibrium. Like, how cool would it be if we could think and understand that language of gravitation, mass, time, temperature, and physics? What wisdom, what patience, what perspective might we glean from hearing the lived experience of silicon, oxygen, quartz, sand, tectonic plates, or a mountain range that's been standing literally for 1 billion years? There are indigenous people all over the world who believe that the whole world is an ongoing conversation among interrelated pieces, innumerable stories, each one a single strand of something infinitely larger than itself, each strand interdependent with all the rest of them, a magnificent unity made possible by a magnificent multiplicity, where each part fulfills its role, tells its story, always and only in relationship to everything else. So to get where I'm going with all this, I have to tell you a true story about rats. Rats, yes. Little squeaky, mice, rats. So there was a study done back in the 1970s. It's been frequently repeated. It's widely understood. A researcher took a single rat, put it into a cage, and gave it access to 2 water bottles. One of the bottles has just regular water in it, and the other bottle is laced with cocaine. Subsequent experiments used heroin, but the results were the same. The single rat will prefer the drugged water, will become addicted in a very short period of time, will overdose and die within a week or 2 or 3. For years, this was a widely accepted theory of addiction. That's the introduction of a chemical causes changes to organic functioning. The organism becomes dependent in a kind of inevitable biological process. But another researcher took things a step further, tried the experiment again, but this time the researcher created Rat Park. Rat Park is like heaven for rats. It has everything a rat could want. It's got lovely food, it's got sex, it's got loads of other rats to play with and be friends with, it's got colored balls and string to play with, it's got things for rats to climb and places for rats to hide, and it's got both those water bottles, the drugged water and the normal water, and what they find is that in Rat Park, rats don't much like the drugged water. They hardly use any of it. None of them ever overdose. None of them ever use it in a way that looks like compulsion or addiction. Rats in Rat Park unanimously choose sobriety. Isn't that interesting? I want to suggest maybe Rat Park has some lessons for all of us. We humans, we've created a world that can only be described as hyper-consumerist, hyper-individualist, and frankly, in a way that very closely parallels the classic symptoms of addiction. Replace cocaine with consumption, power, money, material things, security, social status, the behavior is remarkably similar. As a species, really beyond any possible argument, we have shown we will sacrifice anything, even the ecosystem that sustains us, to feed our addictions. But I wonder if that's because we have falsely, blindly, childishly convinced ourselves that we're all alone in the cage. I wonder if that's because somewhere along the line, here in the infancy of our species, and compared to this guy, we are infants. Here in the infancy of our species, we forgot to keep noticing that the world is a very diverse community, with millions of languages and millions of stories, and only a tiny few of them use spoken words. A world where even the stone has a voice. I wonder if we could get out of our heads, if we could get out of our hyper-individualist way of thinking and of living, we might realize we're not alone at all. We're not alone at any level, in any conceivable way. You know, we're really kind of in Earth Park, a magnificent community of myriad living things, a mind-bogglingly diverse community of trees and fungi and rivers and mountains and creatures of every conceivable variety that just happens to include humans. And you know, Earth Park has everything a human could ask for. It's got lovely food, it's got sex, it's got lots of interesting things to play with. Has things for humans to climb on, and even for places for humans to hide when we need to do that. In therapeutic circles these days, it's understood the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection. And I have to wonder if we grew our awareness of living diversity, if we bent our ear, our assumptions, our perceptions to hear the language and the conversation of trees, oceans, of crocuses, of ants and bees and fungi and even stones. I wonder if we might heal ourselves of this addiction that is killing us and everything around us. One of my favorite authors these days is Sophie Strand, and she has a suggestion for us. I'm quoting here. What if we were smarter than we thought we were? And what if intelligence didn't just live in our heads? I invite you to go outside and find a patch of dirt, field, river silt, grass to lie in, and sink into the surface. Feel texture and groove against your spine. The mellow temperature of soil curling into your neck, wind skimming across your stomach, raising a tiny wave of downy hair. Close your eyes, focus on smell. Can you identify the different notes? The lower chord of rot, the sweetness of blossoms, stone exhaling invisible minerals. Flex your feet, your hands, feel appetite in the throat of your mouth, and let that appetite drift to your limbs and extremities. Probe the dirt with your fingers and your toes. Open your mouth and feel the sun hitting your uvula and the back of your throat. Arch your back. Press the top of your head into the ground so that your words, your dreams, your visions spill back into the earth. Think so hard with your body that you start to think into and with the land itself. Until you remember, that is, remember, that the body you are thinking with is a shared body. Blood and bone and tissue that embodies everything that's ever happened to it. A body with whom you share an elemental past, a current conversation, and a common destiny. Amen.
I invite you to rise in body and/or spirit and join me in singing Our World is One World. After that, I'll ask you to remain standing for our closing affirmation and our benediction. Our world is one world. What touches one affects us all. The seas that wash us round about, the clouds that cover us, the rains that fall. Our world is one world. The thoughts we would think affect us all. The way we build our attitudes with love or hate we make a bridge or wall. Our world is one world. Its ways of wealth affect us all. The way we spend, the way we share, who are the rich or poor, who stand or fall. Our world is one world, just like a ship that bears us all, where fear and greed make many holes, but where our hearts can hear a different call. Behind all our differences and beneath our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one, binds us forever together throughout all time, life and death, and the space between the stars throughout all time, life and death, and the space between the stars.
In a round world, what goes around comes around. Circles and cycles of stars, seasons of growth and decay, birth and death, and unexpected resurrection. You and I and we are inextricably linked to all that is and was and ever will be. Our service is ended. Go in peace.
left, I think